Okay. And I'm making. All right, Elizabeth, you can make me co-host. Okay. And we are live.
All right, I am going to admit everybody if we're okay. Is Elizabeth? I need Elizabeth back in.
Wait, she's here. It's showing her as host.
I'm not, why am I not seeing? Oh, there we go. Got it.
All right, you got 14 people in the waiting room.
All right, give me a second. Elizabeth, if you can let everybody in, that would be great. I have members texting me too.
Who's the other interpreter?
We have Margarita is our Spanish interpreter. Margarita W. I'm admitting her.
Okay. Do you have another? Who's your other ASL interpreter?
Liz and Bernadette are both on, and they will swap out their spotlight as needed. Right, guys? Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. Did you say that the spotlight? That was my question. You want us to spotlight ourselves?
Well, Bernadette's not a co-host.
Right.
Let me.
You need to make Bernadette a co-host.
I got it. I accidentally hit admit all, so.
That's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Everyone's here. Bernadette should be a co-host now.
Yep.
All right.
So
And I'll hit record whenever you tell me.
Bern, I'll start and you can let me know when you're coming on and replace our spotlight.
You can go ahead and start recording, Elizabeth. We're live.
Good morning, ladies.
Hi, I'm going to give everyone some general housekeeping and then I'll hand it over to you, Karen. And I have your PowerPoint deck that's on screen has the agenda and all items loaded into it to help this meeting run smoothly. Just a few things. You are being broadcast live on the DARS YouTube channel. Please be aware of that. If you happen to be on the phone, it's *6 to mute and to unmute. Voting will be done by roll call, and that's going to be done in alphabetical order for the most part, hopefully. And we'll also do introductions that way, and me looking at the participant list. It looks like, let me just make sure that you have a quorum of voting members. Let me go through. Oh yeah. And just so you know, you do have two new members already joining the call or the electronic meeting. And I do expect Chandra will probably come in too. So please, when we do introductions, I want the new members to feel free to tell everybody about themselves. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Karen.
Well, I want to apologize up front for the dog barking and the bird squawking that you will most definitely hear when I do not have my, when I'm not muted. So let's get that out of the way. It's just, that's the way it operates here at my house. We try to get the dogs to cooperate, but you know, they just don't understand how Zoom meetings run. I'm also in Franklin County, which means that we don't have the best internet. Every time I see money coming forward for like new broadband, I'm like, oh my God, there's hope for me yet. So I probably will turn off my video. But that's just the way it is being stuck in Franklin County. I want to thank everybody for joining us and being so flexible with our meeting arrangements. It's always interesting in this day and age to see how things are going to work out. So why don't we go ahead and get started with introductions? And I think Lauren has a plan for the best way for that to happen. While she's doing roll call, maybe we can just take a few minutes and let people know who is participating today. So Lauren, do you want to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, I'm gonna do just give you everybody who's participating, and then I'm gonna go down roll call and give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves. And I didn't really get to thank you. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for your flexibility. You guys have been real troopers. All right, so joining us today, we have a lot of supports as well. Elizabeth Pataka from Policy is providing support to me. And if you need to message somebody, I would message Elizabeth and myself during this meeting so that one of us sees it. We have 2 ASL interpreters with us. We have Bernadette and we have Liz. We have Betsy Civilette, our DARS communication director. She is streaming this live to YouTube. We also have the support of VTC downstairs that supports the Zoom in general. So we have Karen Mikowski-Carney, Ed Turner, Ken Jessup. Oh, we also have the captioner, Beverly from iYellow. We have Daniel Aranda, Gary Talley, Gail Brunk, Leland Brady, Marcia Dubois. We also have Margarita joining us. She is a Spanish translator who will be assisting one of our members today. Rob Targos, Sean Utt, Vasantha Raymond. We have Tony Medrano. You'll see him showing up as Wilfredo Benavides Medrano on your screen. And we have Eric Raff. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to do the roll call for introductions now, starting with Daniel Aranda.
Hello, present.
Thank you. Leland Brady.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm sorry my camera's not working right now, but I am here. Nice to meet you guys or see you guys again.
Thank you. Gail Bronk.
Hi, I'm Gail Brunk, and it's a great honor to be part of this silk, and I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you so much. And Gail, if you guys don't know, Gail from Vail, Gail is the executive director for Valley Associates for Independent Living, and we're so happy to have you. Thank you. Ken Jessup.
Good morning.
Hi, Ken.
Let's let it go there.
All right. Karen Mikowski-Carney, did you have anything else you wanted to say in your introduction?
Well, I just let people know that I am the executive director of the Blue Ridge Independent Living Center in Roanoke, and I've served on the silk, oh my gosh, for a number of years from 1989 to present, and I'm currently serving as your chair.
Thank you, Karen. We are so glad. Tony Medrano? And you have the support of Margarita.
Good morning, members. My name is Wilfredo Benavides Medrano. I am from El Salvador, and I am here to best support our community.
Thank you, Tony. You were saying
Thank you,
that
Tony.
are support the community. Thank you. I have Brian Montgomery on roll call, but I do not believe he is with us today. Vasantha Raymond.
Hi, this is Vasantha Raymond. The host has disabled my video, so I just have a profile picture. right now. And I'm from Northern Virginia. My SIL is Independent Center of Northern Virginia. And I've been a member for a couple of years now. And
Yes,
I
you
have
have.
another son in independent living with support. Thank you.
Thank you, Vasantha. All right, next up is Gary Talley.
Good morning, everybody. I'm still happily retired and was disappointed we couldn't do this in-person meeting, but I guess next time. I'm spending my days now working with a contractor to build a front and back porch on the house.
All right, Gary. I'm glad that you're enjoying retirement, and I'll take you guys wherever I can and can have you safely. So I do miss you though, and I hope to see you in person very soon. Rob Targos.
Good morning. I currently serve as your treasurer, and I'm in Chesterfield County.
All right. Ed Turner.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ed from Virginia Beach. I'm so glad to be reappointed to the council. Looking forward to another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. We're so glad that you were reappointed as well. Sean Utt.
Couldn't get the mute button turned off. Hello, I'm Sean Utt, Southwest Virginia appointee. Was looking at my calendar this morning. With the exception of 1 year, I've been fortunate to be on the Silk since 2009. So thank you for having me. And I guess Lauren doesn't want to look at me because she turned my video off.
Okay, so
Just kidding.
Are you guys having trouble turning your video on?
Yeah, it says that I can't turn it on because the host has stopped our video.
I am not. Elizabeth, if you could look into that and see.
Hey, I got on.
There it goes.
Okay.
We just got it.
I'm going through and asking
guys.
people to. I'm going through and asking people to turn their video on.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
And I see Vasantha. All right, good deal. I'm glad to see some faces. I thought you all had them turned off, and you can turn them off as needed. So I appreciate the introductions, and we'll do voting the same way, roll call, just like we just did for introductions. Okay, Karen, back to you.
All right. So Lauren told us who else was in the room. I'm not sure if we have any additional visitors joining us.
Not in this call, but they are if they are members of the public, they have been directed to the YouTube channel. So the Zoom information is only for you guys and our direct supports.
Okay, great. Did we have anybody sign up for public comment?
I did not receive any public comment, and I continued to check right up until the meeting.
All right. Next on the agenda is to actually review the agenda and see if there are any additions or revisions. Does anybody have any additions or revisions to the agenda?
Yeah, just to let you know, Karen, this doesn't require a change or a vote, but I will be talking to you guys after Rob presents the treasurer's report along the same lines. It fits right in.
All right. Okay. So we'll go ahead and move on to the approval of the minutes from the July 2021 meeting. Hopefully everybody got a copy of those in your packet and you've had time to review those. Does anybody have any changes for the minutes? All right, if not, we're going to accept those as written. Also in your packet, Lauren included a proposed 2022 schedule of meeting dates. Our next scheduled meeting would be April 14th. Then we would have one July 14th, October 13th, or October 20th. Right? And go ahead, Lauren.
I'm sorry. I caught this when putting in the Nickel and April dates that the October 13th presents a conflict. The April conference will be happening then, and right now it's scheduled to be in person. So I changed this so that you guys could tell me which you want to do. If the 13th is still the best for everybody, it would probably be, you know, your usual is two members going, but if you can do the 20th, that might be better.
And again, let me reassure you that nobody in my house is being murdered. That's the self-requested cockatoo who, on occasion, especially when I'm on the phone, likes to vocalize. So if you're hearing screaming in the background, it is the cockatoo. Where is the April meeting this year?
They are going to be in Florida.
Well, so there may be some people who will be interested in participating. Hopefully by October, things will have calmed down with COVID-19. We certainly hope. Daniel says that for him, the 20th is better than the 13th. I'm going to check my calendar now and see if I have a conflict. What about the rest of you? Do you have a preference for the meeting date?
This is Gary Talley. It seems if we know there's a conflict, let's just move it to the 20th.
Yeah.
This is Sean. I agree.
Well, and right now, looking at my calendar for October, the 20th is fine with me too. So let's go ahead and plan on October 20th, and that way we will get the date on our calendar and hopefully nobody will have a conflict with it.
Okay.
All right, so we need a motion to adopt the proposed meeting dates as amended.
I make a motion.
This
Okay,
is Gary Talley. I second.
All right. Any more discussion? All right, Lauren, I guess we have to do a roll call count.
Yes, just like those old days that we thought were behind us. We're back to it. All right, up first, Daniel Aranda.
Aye.
Thank you. Leland Brady.
Aye.
Gail Brunk.
Aye.
Ken Jessup.
Aye.
Karen Mikowski-Carney.
Aye.
Tony Benavides Medrano.
Aye.
Vasantha Raymond.
Aye.
Chandra Robinson. She is not on, sorry. Gary, you seconded. Rob, you first. Ed Turner.
Ed, are you on mute?
Yes, it looks like he is. There he is.
I'm sorry.
All right. Don Utt.
Aye.
All right. And before we, that passes unanimously, by the way. Before we move on, I need to back up a little because my display is acting real funny, but we have Eric Raff and Marcia Dubois on, and they did not get to introduce themselves, and I want to make sure everybody has that opportunity.
Marcia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everybody. I am Marcia Dubois, and I am the ex officio member representing the Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services, or DARS.
Thank you. Eric?
Good morning. My name is Eric Raff. I'm the director of the Virginia Department for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, and I hope you all are staying warm.
Thank you, Eric. All right. So we'll go ahead and move on to the Part B report and legislative update. And I'm not sure that Maureen is on the phone. Is she, Lauren?
No, and when I sent out the Part B report, Maureen emailed me late last night. She is working really hard on a Senate bill and didn't know if she was going to be able to make it out of session over to us. So she asked that we proceed, and Karen or Gail, if you would be so lovely as to present the Part B report. I do have it on the slide deck.
Great. So we're going to have Gail do that for us.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for the opportunity to present this report. I want to say thanks to the Silk for their work on these goals and for the funding that comes with these. Maureen has done a tremendous job. Sorry, I apparently haven't talked to enough people today, so I apologize for the cough. Maureen has done a tremendous job of hosting monthly conference calls with the individuals that conduct the Part B activities, providing training, education, networking, and making sure that everyone is staying on target for meeting the goals and objectives. There have been conversations with the Department of Medical Assistance Services to initiate medical eligibility redeterminations that have been on hold. She's been meeting with the Department of Education to raise concerns about the lack of quality education. We are seeing a significant amount of requests for support with IEP meetings here in the community with COVID and the staffing challenges that schools are experiencing, as well as the other challenges that schools are experiencing with virtual learning, snow days, and access. You'll note the measurable indicators. One of the numbers that just really jumps out is in one quarter alone, 632 public school, college, DARS, and CSB staff were involved in SIL-led outreach and training opportunities. These are all unduplicated. So very excited about that. Thank you, Ed, for that nod. I'll be honest, there's only a few people I can see on the screen, but I saw that, Ed, and thank you. We also have made contact with 49 nursing facilities that were involved this last quarter in SIL-led outreach and training opportunities and activities. 92 hospital staff that were responsible for long-term care screening were involved in SIL-led outreach and training activities as we work to ensure that Virginians with disabilities know how to access community services, know that community-based services are an option, and they have the proper connections and resources to do that. SILs have been continue to be that integral, vital component. So we thank you for that. We've also worked with 153 high school students that are looking at transition and transition services and looking at how to have successful next steps in life. And so very excited about that. We also have worked with 50 individuals who have left public education and are not yet 25 years of age, have been involved in SIL-led outreach and training activities. I'm happy to answer any questions. I do know that the SIL staff is working hard and continues to make a vital impact in our communities.
Thank you, Gail. Does anybody have any questions for Gail about the Part B report? All right. Maureen usually provides us with a legislative update, And unfortunately, I have been snowed in Franklin County, so I don't have my legislative information in front of me. Gail, do you happen to have that? I believe we sent it out to the Silk, and I believe Lauren sent it to all of the Silk members. Lauren, is that correct?
Yes, everyone received that. It's been a few weeks, but you did all receive that. And what I'll do is I'll include that in the post-meeting wrap-up again, so that you have it handy in case if it's backlogged in your emails. And I also today, I did make sure I sent out the webinar information in case you'd like to participate in those VASIL legislative webinars. I think that that's a really great way to stay involved, and you can ask questions usually during those as well.
Right. I do want to just talk a minute about how important it is that the SILs do have somebody at the General Assembly reviewing bills and ensuring that those bills aren't going to create any issues for people with disabilities. You may or may not know, but the majority of the SILs and SIL staff, executive directors, we serve on a number of different committees and commissions and coalitions. And I know when we put ours together for the Blue Ridge Independent Living Center, and I share it with our board, they've asked me, well, how do you get any work done if you're serving on all of these committees, commissions, coalitions? And of course, that's an integral part of what we do, is advocating to ensure that people with disabilities are not going to be discriminated against, and so people with disabilities can be independent in the community. So I've been serving on a group, I don't know if you've heard of the Impact Project, but they were particularly interested in the high cost of medicine. And so we had been supporting their efforts and getting information out. And it just so happened that Maureen was having a conversation with somebody, and they brought an issue to our attention. You wouldn't think that getting a pharmacy board put into, the laws would be an issue, but as it turned out, it did create an issue specifically for people with disabilities. So Maureen reached out to the person who is the facilitator of the coalition. And as Lauren mentioned, she is today meeting with the legislator to determine whether he would be willing to modify his amendment so that there won't be a negative impact on people with disabilities. So again, just, monitoring things going on at the General Assembly. Maureen does bring any of those concerns to VASIL, and then VASIL turns around either as a collective entity, or the individual SILs will also work to either pass bills that we think would be beneficial, or modify bills that we think need a modification, or possibly defeat bills that would be detrimental to people with disabilities. And I just want to remind everybody that the SILK as an entity can't do things that you as an individual citizen of the Commonwealth can do. So just a reminder that, use your voice, hopefully for things that would be of benefit. And again, for those things that wouldn't, make sure your legislators are hearing from you. It is extremely important. So Gail, do you have anything else that you might want to add about the legislative update?
I did not, other than apparently the site is currently not working correctly right now, which is causing some havoc down at General Assembly. I was looking to look up some bills this morning, but I'm guessing they'll get that fixed quickly.
I don't know how many of you heard, but it I think it was the legislative information system that got hit by some kind of malware, and it created all types of issues. So we thought that they had that fixed, but maybe not. Ken, are you raising your hand?
Yes, I am. As a retired lobbyist, let me tell you that there's an alternate way of getting information about bills. It's called Richmond Sunlight. So you can go there and get information as well.
Wonderful, thank you. So Richmond Sunlight.
Mhm.
All right. Anything else on the legislative update? Of course, Vasil did request a budget amendment for additional funding for the individual sills. And we also requested funding for those areas of the Commonwealth that currently don't have sills. And again, Lauren will share the Vasil legislative information with everybody. And Lauren's telling me that Ed has a question. Go ahead, Ed.
I just wanted to let everybody know that in the bill, I don't remember the name level, but I'll get that to Lauren today. In the bill to abolish the 14C certificate in Virginia.
And I am sorry, Ed, I did not understand that. Lauren, were you able?
I can repeat that if you don't mind, Ed. Ed was just telling us that he wanted us to be aware. He doesn't remember the bill number, but there is a bill to abolish the 14C subminimum wage certificate in Virginia. Some states have been successful in getting rid of, the words are not hitting my brain right now, but yes. So
great.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate bringing that up.
I will get that number to Lauren this afternoon.
All right, you're going to get that to me and I can make sure that the membership gets that information, okay? And I can look that up and include it in the email. So Ed, we're covered. I'll make sure that the membership gets it in the wrap up.
Very good. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, anything else on the legislative update?
Yeah, just since I'm in a giving mood, there's an app called Virginia Red Book, and it's VA Red Book. And if you go there and download it, it's out of my old office. You get statewide legislators, you get the Senate, you get the House, you get the calendar, you get news, and you get all kinds of information. It's right there in that app. It's called VA Red Book. And for those of you who go to the legislature and go to the General Assembly, you're probably familiar with the Red Book that we publish. And that's what this is. That's exactly what this is. So you can get it on your phone and you've got updated information constantly.
That's a great resource, Ken. Thanks for sharing.
I really ought to go back to work.
Anybody else have anything for the legislative update? All right. On the agenda, we have a working lunch provided. And so Lauren, I'm wondering what kind of arrangements you've made for all of us to have lunch delivered to wherever we are at this time.
I wish. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. I'll keep at it. But you do have a break built in right now, but you are welcome to, if by consensus you don't want to take a break right now, you can You all are always welcome to take breaks as needed. If you want to keep going, it's up to you all, Karen.
I would suggest that we go ahead and move forward, and maybe a little bit later in the agenda, we take a 10-minute break there. Do I see heads nodding and I'm getting thumbs up, and that looks like
Yes.
consensus. So we'll just continue to move forward.
All right.
Next thing on the agenda is the treasurer's report. Rob? Rob, are you on mute?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
For the treasurer's report, the first item for quarter 4 budgeted expenditures is the federal fiscal year 2021 Part B amount was $465,885. The second item for the quarter 4 budget expenditures was that the amount is $1,715 less than fiscal year 2020. The third item for quarter 4 is part of the July meeting expenses show up in fiscal year 2021. Fourth quarter budget expenses are on lines 31 through 38. The remaining expenses show up in the first quarter fiscal year of the 2022 spreadsheet. And the last item for quarter 4 budget expenditures is the council is carrying over $53,885 to the fiscal year 2022 budget. For quarter 1 budget expenses, the first item is that the fiscal year began on October 1st. The second item for quarter 1 is the council continues to have expenses that are lower than pre-pandemic. This is mostly because of less meetings, and not all meetings are being attended in person. The fourth item is there's plenty of funding left in place for both the nickel and the April conferences, whether in person or virtual. And the last item for quarter 1 is state operating expenses remain high, but should remain less than budgeted amounts. And that's the end of the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Rob. Lauren, I believe that you had mentioned a conversation.
All right, so this next slide that you are looking at, I need to move some things on my screen. Give me a second. Really, I want to pick up, this is an evolving situation, which you guys are used to, and you know how a lot of this works. But I wanted to let you know that a Federal Register notice was issued on Wednesday, January the 12th. There had been conversations and, some not substantial from the IL network previous. So this started back in November. On January 12th, they announced the availability of nearly $4.5 million for the independent living service programs to support the cost of wages and benefits for public health professionals directly or through contract. And they gave some examples. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the examples because I want to get to how this is going to impact you or could impact you. So the steps to receive the funds, the notice states that to receive funding, grantees are required to submit a letter of assurance by February 11th. This letter of assurance can be submitted electronically by email. The letter of assurance would, so you all, the way that it's set up, your DSE is the actual grantee for your Part B funds that come through to the silk, okay? So the DSE would need to, if they find it agreeable and want to do this, need to submit a letter of assurance. But this is a kind of a chicken and an egg situation, if you will, because the letter of assurance can't really be in good faith submitted by the DSE without knowing what projects are in development, what ideas the Centers for Independent Living and VASIL might have. And just so you know, the funding is going to come through for your Part C centers. And then the Part B funding comes through just as I described to the silk. Now, what I would like to suggest is, and I highly encourage, we have Karen and Gail in this meeting, is that go back to the network and please let all of the executive directors know if there are ideas being formulated. It would be great if you could somehow get those to me so that I can pass them along to Commissioner Hayfield so that the DSE can make the best decision possible for everybody. This is always strange when there's one-time funding. This is one-time funding. It is also temporary. It has to be used by the end of September of 2024. So it's complicated. It may require, there are some details that aren't quite finished out yet. It may require, if this is something that is acted on and the DSE does want to submit a letter of assurance because there are ideas that support this funding, the silk may need to come together to vote. So there may be a need. I'm just telling you this kind of like as a, just in case, there might come a time, because this is moving so fast, the letters of assurances have to be received by the by ACL by February 11th. There's an Office of Independent Living Programs call next Wednesday. I hope to have more information then. I'm sure that all of the SIL directors are also waiting on information. So it's a quickly developing situation. And I just wanted to make you all aware. I see that Sean has his hand up.
Yeah, just a quick question. Is this something that we can defer to the executive committee to act upon on behalf of the full board?
I don't know, because if we look at it in terms of historically, these items, it's written that it requires full council approval and also a majority of executive directors' approval. Going on that, I'm not sure, but if you would like to make a motion that the executive committee handle any business pertaining to new grant funds, I think that you are well within your rights, and as long as it's permissible, of course. When we get to that, we can do that.
So this is Karen, and let me just provide a little bit more information for especially some of those who are newer Silk members. In the state of Virginia, we currently have 17 centers for independent living. Of those 17 centers, 6 receive federal funds, and we get those funds sent to us. They do not go through the DSE. We, as individual federal SILs, also need to decide whether we want to apply for this funding. And as Lauren mentioned, we have to submit a letter of assurance by February 11th. It's really interesting because we have no idea how much this funding is going to be. What they say is that they're hoping that this funding will allow us to pay for a staff person who can do the things that are outlined that this funding can be used for. And most of it is, well, all of it is related to COVID, but they give us a list of individuals that we might be able to hire with these funds. The DSE, it's very interesting because they don't talk about how the funding is going to be divvied up. So there are, 300 something SILs across the country. There's probably, 40 to 50 DSEs, I'm guessing, I don't know for sure. And depending on how many of the SILs submit a letter of assurance and how many of the DSEs submit a letter of assurance, that's going to determine how much funding is available. So it's really difficult to be asking Centers for Independent Living to come up with ideas for things that they may want to do, not knowing how much funding is going to be available. So it's really interesting the way this whole thing is playing out. And Ed tells us that the Norfolk SIL board approved applying yesterday. And of course, our Blue Ridge Independent Living Center board, also voted to apply for the funding yesterday too. So this whole thing is just, it's like shooting in the dark, I guess, is the best way to explain where we are with this funding. I know that VASIL is planning to have a call and discuss, this funding. I know I've heard from some of the state funded SILs going, so does this mean we're going to get more money? And I don't know what the answer is. So I think if you will allow Gail and myself to have a very quick conversation with the executive directors, we can provide information back to the SILC regarding what or how VASIL believes, this funding should be utilized. I don't know, Gail, do you have anything that you want to add to this confusing situation that we find ourselves in?
Well, I guess maybe I shouldn't say this, but my anxiety is up a little bit for the experience that we had with the CARES Act and the moving target and how it changed all the time. So I see this list and I'm hesitant. I see Eric nodding his head. Thank you for that camaraderie of challenge when looking at this. But I know that VASIL has had some conversations. We've been participating in the webinars and we've been looking at it and have some more follow-up conversation to be had. And I believe could certainly come with an idea. Eric, I had seen you had your hand raised earlier. Did you have a question or a comment?
No, I think my question's already been answered, but I'm wondering what are the criteria or the parameters for the funding? Because we've already seen that on the PowerPoint. So, but I already saw that on the PowerPoint. I was just wondering how to best use that money and how that could benefit everyone. So I was just thinking on that for a minute for brainwash.
Okay. And today, as we know it, I believe the parameters are you have to be a Part C or Part B funded Center for Independent Living and hire someone to do one of these types of jobs in public health.
Yes.
It relates it all back to COVID. It does, through the FAQs, does tie it back to COVID as well. So whatever works best for the silk, because it is going to be a short turnaround time period till we come up with all of that and have that in a good format and get it back. I believe you will see that, yes, we're going to be interested in applying for the funding, but getting the details to the silk might be a little bit at the closer hour, but we'll certainly work together with the silk to make that as smooth as possible.
And just to clarify, the DSE is the one that is going to trigger whether they want to receive this funding or not receive this funding. And that has not been established yet. But like I said, the chicken and the egg, it's like, I do think that Sean had a really good idea for you all, if you would like to consider it, of possibly going ahead and being proactive, and you could allow the executive committee to act on your behalf concerning this grant funding opportunity, but that would need to come through a motion and a vote.
And let me just clarify again that the 6 federally funded SILs will be getting some of this funding specifically for their use, as long as they submit a letter of assurance by February 11th. So it's the other 11 centers for independent living that would be the SILs that would get funding through the DSE. At least that's my understanding at this point. So, Sean, were you making a motion at this point or just recommending?
Sorry, I had another phone call. I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Now, conversation, any discussion?
Was Ken the second?
I
Yes.
believe.
Thank you.
Any further discussion about this fluid situation?
I have just a question, a point of clarification with Lauren.
All right. Go ahead,
Lauren,
Marcia.
can the, as long as this current public health emergency is in place, can the executive committee conduct their business virtually?
Yes, so that's a great question. Thank you, Marcia, for reminding me too. The current state of emergency that we're under is naturally set to expire on the 11th, on February 11th. But I would like to caution you, it can be revoked, or another executive order stating something else could be done. So it's not set in stone, but I have a feeling that this will probably run the 30 days. So you would be able to have, the executive committee would be able to convene virtually, so long as we have that state of emergency in place. Absolutely. And that would be the best possible way to quickly, without taking time out of everybody's schedule.
Thank you for that, Marcia and Lauren.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
This is Eric speaking. If I could add, just for a little bit of clarification, 2 different public health emergencies, and it's a difference between public health and a state of emergency. As Lauren said, the state of emergency allows us to meet virtually. So we are good there.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Eric. Any,
I have a question. So being that it's set to expire on the February 11th, will it be revisited, or how will we know either beforehand or on the day whether or not
well,
in other words, what are there any soft benchmarks that we should be aware of from the committee or from the group standpoint?
So the first part of your question is, we don't know. It will either naturally expire on that February 11th date, and I think that's at like 12 a.m. February 11th. But we won't know. But you can go to the governor's website and see all of the executive orders at any time. So if there were to be something else, I would go there to look for it. Because honestly, I've done this. I've just Googled state of emergency Virginia, and we've had so many that you're going to get just a lot of results. So I think visiting the governor's website is probably your safest bet. As for the second part of your question, I would need some clarification from you as to what benchmarks you were thinking of that the committee may need to keep in mind.
For any of the because we didn't have a executive meeting, and what Sean just mentioned as far as us meeting as an executive committee to handle the
right
business.
So because it's an evolving situation, and everyone, as you can tell, everyone is really looking for this information, and we need to see all the details. I can't tell you when it would be, except if there were action to take that, and it would only be if it's required of you in order to fulfill the assurance. A lot of times funding is dependent on the silk, the council agreeing, and 51% of the center executive directors. So that's why I just want you to have a contingency plan in place, really.
so Rob, maybe I can help. What I see as the process would be that Gail and I would talk to Vasil to determine how the state-funded SILs might be interested in utilizing this funding. We would then call an executive committee meeting to let the executive committee know how the state-funded SILs would like to utilize these funds. And then I believe the SILC would need to have a conversation with the DSE to let the DSE know that the state-funded SILs would like the DSE to apply for this funding for these projects. And then the executive committee, depending on what additional information we get from the feds, hopefully soon, the executive committee would meet and request that, again, the DSE apply for this funding, and we would sign off on the letter of assurance or whatever we need to do in order to draw down that money. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know if Marcia or Lauren, you have any other ideas?
This is Lauren. That was pretty much how the steps that were happening in my head. There's just quite a few checks that we need to make sure we have a plan in place so that we can make that happen if that's required.
Mm-hmm.
Marcia, did you have anything to add?
I was just trying to think through it as well, in terms of, that's why I asked the question about the ability to meet virtually, whether it was, what's on the floor right now is Sean's motion about the executive committee, but whether or not it was the executive committee or the full silk, could we meet virtually was the first thing in my mind, because at whatever meeting that is, we could have Commissioner Hayfield attend to essentially get her approval or not, figure that out right there at that meeting to take care of whether there was the DSE approval or not. And where the silk would be saying yay or nay to whatever they still was coming back with after they, talked with the other sills.
And I see, I'm sorry, Marcia, I didn't mean to
No,
cut
go
you
ahead.
off.
That's it.
Gail, you have your hand raised.
I do. I don't know, I know we're in discussion, but I guess if this decision is made, one of the questions I would have, regardless of whether it's the whole silk or the executive committee, is there a time frame that needs to be adhered to announcing that meeting?
Yes, there is. I need 3 business days, I believe, to hold a meeting. So I have to be able to give notice and do all of that. I actually prefer 7 days. I think that it's better practice, but I think if push comes to shove, the line is 3 full days notice.
If and when we get to that point, I have thoughts on that. I think the discussion now is Sean's motion of the executive committee, but thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
So do we have any further discussion about the motion that is on the table? All right. Hearing none. Lauren, you want to do a roll call vote?
I will. Let me just make sure that nobody else has come into the meeting that I need to be aware of. Give me one moment. Okay, we're going to start with the roll call vote. Daniel Aranda.
Aye.
Leland Brady.
Aye.
Thank you. Gail Bronk.
Aye.
Karen Mikowski Carney.
Aye.
Tony Benavides Medrano.
Aye.
Visantha Raymond.
Aye.
Gary Talley.
Aye.
Rob Targos.
Aye.
Ed Turner.
Aye.
All right, that is all of you. That passed unanimously. Thank you.
All right. So Gail and I will get with Vasil and bring information back, and we will see where we go. Hopefully we'll be getting additional guidance from ACL, and we'll hope that that guidance is clear, because sometimes it's not. And then we'll see where we go with this funding. Was there anything else on that, Lauren, that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that does it. But what I will do is in the wrap up email, there's a really good fact sheet on this pot of funding that I will make sure you receive in the wrap up email so that you all can read through that.
And that would be the FAQs for the DSE, correct?
Yes, for the DSE.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm speaking alphabet soup here. So FAQs, frequently asked questions, and DSE in our state is the Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services. Sorry about that. All right. I think we're moving on to number 8 in our agenda, the update on accessibility of state websites and the status of EO 47. So, as you will remember, the accessibility of state websites has been something that the Silk has been trying to do something about for a number of years. In the past, we have sent letters, and unfortunately, some of those letters went unanswered. Governor Northam had signed Executive Order 47, which basically talked about accessibility, and we had written him a letter, and I actually heard back from Dr. her name is escaping me, Lauren Underwood, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And she wrote a letter to the Silk, which was in your packet. Dr. Underwood and I did have a conversation. And now, of course, Dr. Underwood is no longer with the current administration. And we just heard yesterday or the day before, I think, that the governor had assigned a new person to that position, and was also going to submit, I think, a request to make that diversity, inclusion, and something else. Thank you. To make that be a part of the cabinet, if I understand correctly. So I'm not sure at this point whether, the information that we shared with Dr. Underwood and Governor Northam is going to be forwarded to the new individual. I really don't know. I don't have any idea. So I think that it might be good for us to write a letter to the new individual, of course, congratulating her on her appointment, letting her know a little bit about the Silk, and then also talking about our previous communication regarding the state website accessibility. So that would be my recommendation, but I'd like to hear what others think.
That will be a very good idea, I think.
Okay, so Ed, if you don't mind me repeating what you said that you think that would be a very good idea.
Yeah, we need to keep resources.
We
This
need
is-
to keep.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Sean, did you get it?
We need to keep the conversation going.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And if I could throw out one thing, when you send a letter, I definitely agree with sending a letter. Would it be worth part of that letter being a narrative or an explanation of what we've done in the past and how many, maybe it's time for this governor to do what other governors couldn't do?
Yes, I would
if
think
you
that.
had that kind of language, I think it'll grab his attention or his staff's attention.
I agree. Anybody else? Thoughts, ideas? Okay, Lauren, do we need a motion in order to do that, or are we okay to just move forward?
I think that this can fall under your original motion to send the letter in the first place, because there's been a change in administration. You're sort of duplicating steps. So I'm comfortable without a motion so long as you are.
Good. All right. How are we feeling about a break? What time is it right now? Oh, it's 12 o'clock.
Break time.
Are we good to move forward? Or is anybody needing a break? Of course, you can take a break if you need to at any time.
I'm going to take a quick break.
Let's knock this baby out.
Okay. Well, all right, let's continue moving then. We're on number 9, the spill development team. So we need volunteers. The team will meet approximately 4 times in 2022 and approximately 4 times in 2023. The meetings are typically held for 3 to 4 hours on a weekday. The weekday that, works best for most of the volunteers. And they do include a working lunch and expenses paid for any travel that's incurred. So do we have some volunteers that would like to serve on the Spill Development Committee?
This is Sean. I'll be happy to volunteer.
Thank you, Sean.
Ed has his hand up.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you,
I
Ed.
will. Yeah, I will like to volunteer.
All right.
As a new member, if it's appropriate, I would be happy to serve on that, but if that's not appropriate, I understand that.
No, you're
It's
welcome to
appropriate.
serve.
I think it's appropriate.
I'll do
All
it.
right, thank you, Gail. All right, we got Ken. And of course, I'll be serving. So that would give us 5 individuals. I think.
I'll do it as well.
All right, Rob, we've got 6.
All right. That is probably enough cooks in the kitchen for this.
That's what I was thinking.
I appreciate you all being super enthusiastic. I just know that in-person meetings are difficult to arrange and yeah.
Yep. All right, great. So we've got Rob, Ed,
Sean,
thank you. Who else?
Gail,
Yeah.
Ken, and you, Karen.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to jot everybody's name down and I didn't get all of them. So appreciate your assistance. All right, Lauren, moving on to the agenda. I think that most of you know that we lost Alexis. She was a young member of the Silk, strong advocate for people with disabilities. And so what the Silk did was to set up a youth scholarship in Alexa's name. And we did get a nice card from her mother. This was included in the packet, right, Lauren?
Yeah, it's up on, I'm sharing it. Can you all see the handwritten note from Annie Nichols? That's Alexis's mom. I can read it. I'd love to share it for those of you who may not be able to see your screen. Let me move some things. Dear Karen Carney, I would like to thank everyone at the Virginia Silk for their kind expression of sympathy for Alexis. It is greatly appreciated. Speaking for the family, we are all touched and I can't make out that word, honored to hear you have set up a scholarship fund in her memory. She would be so proud and honored as well. Thank you so much for this wonderful tribute to her work and legacy. May it benefit all of its recipients. If there's anything that I can do for you, please let me know. Again, thank you very much for this beautiful and honoring tribute to Alexis.
So we wanted to share that with everybody. And when we start talking about the April conference and the Nickel conference, we'll certainly keep this in mind and hope to be able to fund a youth going to either one or both of those conferences. So, all right. Well, for some reason, this mechanical pencil has not been cooperating with me either yesterday or today. It just does not, I think it's maybe being used too much is what its problem is. Moving on to the Nickel conference and the April conference. Okay, so we don't know yet whether the Nickel conference is going to be virtual or in person. We do know that the April conference is set to take place in person in Orlando. Nickel conference is July 25th through July 28th. And the April conference is October 12th through October 14th. And Lauren, you're going to have to help me. Did we already talk about the number of individuals that we were able to send to the conferences, or we haven't done that yet?
You all have not decided for this year's conferences how many you would like to. And you may want to consider, because the status of the conferences can change. Some that have been set for in-person have had to go virtual. So you may have a different plan depending on which, or you might like to make two plans, a virtual plan and an in-person plan. It's up to you all.
And could you remind us of what the average cost is to send somebody to the Nickel conference and then also to the April conference?
So the Nickel conference is held in DC, and if it's in person, it's usually averages right around $1,000 a day when we figure in registration and everything, the per diem travel, all of that. The April conference is a little bit different because we're talking about airfare and air travel. But they're similar in total cost. They're not that much different, actually. The airfare doesn't push it that much further over.
I was going to say, for somebody driving into DC, it might even be less expensive to fly to Orlando. So,
especially if you're paying tolls, it might be.
Right. Okay. And we are carrying over, what was it, 53,000?
Yes, but I'd like to caution you that you have only received the 80,000 so far of Part B money. So what was carried over will be exhausted first, obviously, for the health of your grants. And just this first quarter of FY22 payments, Part B payments to the centers and to VASIL. If you look at, hang on, let me pull up the spreadsheets.
And just to clarify, or it's 53,885.
Thank you, Rob.
And so so for the quarter of payments, 110,000, well, 113, let's say 114,000 for my sanity. I'm not a good visual math person. So you're already, I wouldn't really look at how much you have in carryover necessarily, but you do have built into your budget $17,000 for the two conferences.
All right.
And you should receive, I would hope, close to level funding of Part B funds. It's just a slow trickle as it comes in.
I am not going to comment about that. So if we utilize the 17,000, and if the Nickel and April conference really run about the same amount of money, 25, 26, 27, 28. So we're looking at like $4,000 for Nickel and 12, 13, 14, about $3,000 for April.
Yes, and your number is good for DC, but please remember that when you're traveling, your travel actually usually begins the day before the date of the conference starting, and it also ends the day after the conference ending. So it does add, but I would count on 3,000 to 3,500 per person for Nickel. And I would count on about the same, probably maybe closer to 4 for April.
All righty. So it looks like if we're talking $3,000, that we could send 5 point something people to the conferences, if my math is correct. So maybe looking at 6 people possibly, or would you suggest, Lauren, that we look at 5 total?
I think that you can definitely support 6 for in-person if you'd like. 5 is a safer bet if you're looking to preserve funding or you're worried about funding. 5 is a safer number. And you also, if the nickel conference is virtual, you could sign up every single person on the council.
Right.
Same for April. If that became virtual, you could send everyone.
Sounds like we've got part B.
Well, are you talking about, sounds like we have part B, like you're going to have more funds coming in?
No. Plan B is what I meant to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're working, because you were working on 2 different criteria. One, if it's in person, and one, if it's virtual. So it sounds like we've got the virtual problem solved.
Yeah, you've never maxed out your virtual attendance, just so you know. I mean, virtual conferences are hard for a lot of folks anyways, so.
So it sounds like we need almost a plan A, B, and C, because if both of them are in person, we know how expensive that's going to be. If one of them is in person, then that's going to be different. And then if both of them end up being virtual, that's yet another plan that we need. So what do the rest of you think? How do you want to handle this?
This is Sean. I'd be supportive of the 5, and then going, if whoever is interested, if it stays virtual, that makes the most sense. Whoever's interested, let's get as many people out there as possible. But 5, I think, is comfortable. I'm comfortable with the budget.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that and say if there's another person interested, we can entertain that or look at that, but safely to do 5.
Okay.
I agree. But how many can we send to April now? See, that's my question.
Well, I was combining the 2 from what you all were saying, 5 total between the 2.
Correct.
Oh.
Okay. So it would be 5 total. So if 3 people could go to nickel, 2 people could go to April, or if 2 people go to nickel, then 3 people could go to April. So, that's my understanding of what we were looking at.
And I think the advantage to that is that it could be a shared fund, or just to cover both, whether it's one person going to both conferences, or that way it'll be easier to cover expenses and things from it.
Okay, so Sean, did you want to make a motion that we send a maximum of 5 people to either the nickel and or April conference?
I will make that motion for sure.
Okay.
And I will second the motion.
All right. Any further discussion? Generally, what we like to do is send folks that maybe have not had an opportunity to participate in the conferences. Lauren, basically will send, something out to folks and want people to express an interest in participating with the virtual Nickel conference or the virtual April conference. We certainly would hope that an individual can commit to all of the days that the conference is in session. So other thoughts, comments?
So just to let some of the new people know, I went to both conferences this past year and over in the last couple of years, and both of them have been extremely well run, and they're, especially being virtual, they have a number of people who are handling the accommodations and making sure that all the accommodations, both in Zoom and in the chat and other functions, work out well. And so especially if you're doing virtual, the only thing I would say is that check or know about your internet connection and how and what your bandwidth is. And one of the recommendations that I make for virtual conferences, especially is that if you have any issues with bandwidth, that you just turn your video off, because that saves on the bandwidth. So just wanted to add that for some new people, and hopefully Wilfredo or Daniel or any of the new members can attend.
Thank you for that, Rob. And yes, that is why I have my video off, because again, being in Franklin County, Virginia, we do not have enough of bandwidth to be able to talk and be seen. Any other comments, questions? All right, so Lauren, I guess you'll need to do a roll call vote.
Yes. All right. Daniel Aranda.
Aye.
Leland Brady.
Aye.
Gail Brunk.
Aye.
Ken Jessup.
Aye.
Karen Mikowski Carney.
Aye.
Tony Benavides Medrano.
Aye.
Visantha Raymond.
Aye.
Gary Talley. We may have lost Gary for a second.
He's on mute.
Oh,
Gary, you're on, or it looks like he's frozen actually now.
oh no.
So maybe he needs to turn off his
Camera.
Hey, it works.
It does.
So Gary, did you hear what?
I think he did say he was going to take a break.
Okay. It's okay. It's
Okay.
all right. Ed,
Aye.
thank you. And Rob and Sean, you were included in the motion. That carries unanimously.
And Gary just said aye.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm looking down at my notes. Thank you.
Mhm.
And just so you all know, if you know that you already are interested and you want to let me know, you can send me an email letting me know. Okay.
All right. So moving on to number 12. Appears we've had a request for a virtual speaker from the Down Syndrome Association of Northern Virginia. Lauren, you want to tell us a little bit more about that, or?
Sure. I'm sorry, my phone is ringing and I could not get to mute it. I'm sorry, you all have to hear that. So a young lady, a member, reached out and asked if, well, they're really trying to have statewide organizations and organizations that are active in, this is Northern Virginia. So they're trying to pull in organizations to talk about the actual organization, so the silk, and answer questions that their membership may have and talk about what sorts of efforts advocacy-wise the silk is involved in. So really the goals that are stated in your spill. And if you don't have a volunteer, I think that, you know, I'm always willing to do these for you, but I'd like always to put it before the membership. If this is something you want to do, if it's, those are the dates are the available choices for the virtual sessions. So, and I checked to make sure that those were still current.
So could you clarify what you're looking for from us? Is it just an approval? Is this something that we're interested in doing? Are you wanting us to commit to a particular thing?
So first of all, you need to decide if it's something that you all are interested in. The second is who you would like to represent the silk as a volunteer for this virtual event on state organizations and state efforts, and the date.
So it's a one-time commitment.
Yes, it's just, it's solely a speaking about the silk to the Down Syndrome Association of Northern Virginia, to their membership about the silk.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
I'll express my interest in being a speaker for it.
First, I hear a lot of silence. First, I want to find out if the membership wants to agree to participate.
Oh, okay.
I'm in favor of it. I didn't feel like I might be the appropriate speaker, so I didn't want to, seem like I was volunteering anybody, but it feels like a good opportunity to inform the group about our resources and what we've been doing. And because we have someone who's volunteered to speak, I think that's excellent. Perhaps we can just work with you, Lauren, to prepare the speaker with a few bullet points, things that we thought were the priorities that we wanted to cover, and then give the speaker the sort of freedom to build some of the other parts of it on their own.
Okay, Karen just got knocked out of the call. I'm sorry, Daniel. I heard what you were saying. I just wanted to let everybody know. I'm going to admit Karen back in. So we may have to bring Karen. Are you with us, Karen? Let me see.
It looks like she's still connected to audio.
Yeah, connecting to audio has been taking a little bit of time today for whatever reason. So
Is it helpful for individuals who might be on a VPN to maybe jump off of that?
Always. VPN can definitely interrupt it. Let me see if...
Yeah, it looks like she's still connecting to audio.
Let's give her a moment. I think that it's... Does anybody else have any questions while we're waiting for Karen's audio? She can hear us most likely. And I'm in communication with her via text.
I have a question about how long were they looking for someone to speak? That'd be my first question. And my second question would be, even if we are not speaking, are we able to attend this event to maybe support our fellow member who is speaking, or to find out more information about this particular group? And I asked that question about being able to attend, given any possible limits on attendees due to the pandemic, or access to the building it's in and things of that nature.
Well, this is virtual.
Oh, it's going to be virtual. Okay.
Yes.
So I do see it's underlined virtual. It's something is obscuring my view on it.
You know what? I'm sorry. Sometimes that happens when I'm sharing, and it's just my little toolbar. So I'm going to try to scoot it out of the way. It's
That's
still
okay.
covering up part of my slide. I'm sorry. All right. And as for your other questions, I don't think that this is an opportunity where we'll be able to have multiple people go. And it's going to be a shared time frame. So you won't be talking for the whole time. Oh, Karen's back. You won't be talking for the whole time. I would expect it would be shorter. Sorry, I'm looking at, we've got two Karens. So she's connecting in multiple ways right now. They may have questions. So there'll be plenty of time for that. But I don't think it'll be an opportunity where, especially virtual, unless it's, if it's open to the public, sure, everybody can go. But I don't know that this is very complicated. I'm sorry to overcomplicate, Daniel, but some organizations stream their meetings live, and some just open up the Zoom to everybody live. So it just depends, but I can iron that out. I really just wanted to see if the council was interested in doing this. She has reached out multiple times to answer questions, and they seem very interested in having you all as a guest, one of you all.
And just so that everybody knows, although I'm not involved and I haven't been part of the Down syndrome in Northern Virginia, I've been very involved with the Richmond Down syndrome, the DSAGR. So that's where part of it overlaps my interest, as well as things that I can ways that I can help both groups.
So if you didn't notice, I got kicked off of my wonderful internet here in Franklin County. I am back. So I'm assuming from the conversation that Rob has volunteered to participate. Is that correct?
That's correct, but I still haven't gotten the first hurdle that really needs to be passed is the Silk interested in participating? And then you can agree on who will participate. Because it's tricky when you all don't do a lot of this, and I think it's because you don't you don't want to misrepresent. You need good, clear information, and I want to assure you that I will work directly with whoever you would like to participate. If you would prefer that I participate, you can always do that. It's really up to you all. So I need to make sure that everybody's first on board with participating.
Okay, so I apologize. I did miss that whole conversation. So I'm hoping that somebody who did hear the conversation can maybe provide some comment or thoughts.
I think Ed has his hand raised.
Who's that?
Ed.
Ed. Okay, Ed, go ahead.
I think it would be a great opportunity to educate people. About the self and what we do.
Ed thinks that it would be a good opportunity to educate people about the silk and what we do.
And this is Sean. I concur, and I would make the motion as long as Lauren, I trust that she'll put whatever information together, and whoever wants to volunteer. I'd love to have different voices out there speaking for themselves.
I would second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Further discussion? Okay.
A second.
All right. All right, so I don't see anybody else's hand raised. So Lauren, you want to go ahead and do a roll call vote?
Daniel Aranda.
Aye.
Leland Brady.
Aye.
Gail Bronk.
Aye.
Ken Jessup.
Aye.
Karen Mikowski Carney.
Aye.
Tony Benavides Medrano.
Aye.
Vasantha Raymond.
Aye.
Gary Talley. I think his
Gary.
connection keeps going in and out. Rob Targos.
Aye.
All right. And Ed, I have you down as second, and Sean, you made the motion. Okay, that has passed. Now, Daniel, you asked a really good question about could multiple people go, and I'll look into that because it sounds like there may be more than one person interested in speaking. And if that's the case, I can prepare 2 people if they would like that.
My question was more, this is when I didn't know it was virtual because I couldn't see that part of the headline. So my question was more about going to support, because we had a volunteer speaker. My question was more about going in support of our, my fellow council member here, and again, and learning myself. But that question's mute now. As long as if there's an opportunity to attend virtually, I would definitely tune in.
Awesome. Thank you. It's very nice of you to offer support, Ethan. So thank you. And Rob, you expressed interest in actually
Yes,
attending one of the virtual sessions, correct?
yes, having interest in working with the Richmond chapter, I'd be that's why I would be interested in serving as the speaker for the council, and just so I would be speaking on behalf of the council and the different roles, and both as in previous roles and any other information that they would have regarding council activities only.
Yeah, and I'll work closely with you to make sure you have the information bulleted out. And, okay, well, Rob, if you could make sure that you send me which one of those dates will work so that I can respond, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. So moving right along, we've got reports and agency updates, and
Gail has her hand up.
I'm sorry, Gail. Go ahead.
I'm wondering, Karen, if it would be appropriate and acceptable to call for a 5-minute break. If not, I'll just take my own break, but I just wondered if we could take a 5-minute break. I'd like to hear what Doris has to say, but I need to take a break.
All right. Anybody else willing or wondering or wanting to, I guess, take a 5-minute break? I've got 12:45, so maybe if we can come back at 12:50, and Marcia, you'll be up then.
Definitely.
All righty.
Thank you.
You.
No problem. Make sure y'all mute and take your time during your breaks. Thank you.
All right, let me see. Here in Franklin County, it says 12:49, so we have one more minute.
Okay.
I'd like to be on the same time as the rest of the state, but sometimes that just doesn't happen.
Can you hear me, Karen?
I can. So we'll
Okay, great.
keep a couple of more seconds here to regroup. My goodness. So I'm not sure what's headed our way later this week. Maybe I need to go check the weather. But it says Governor Youngkin declares state of emergency in advance of winter weather expected later this week.
And
mostly south and east.
Yeah, I think it's staying east and south of us, Karen.
Oh, thank God. I don't need any more over what I've already got. I can't get rid of what we got.
I think Virginia,
Looks like
Virginia
my
Beach,
area, the Southampton area is getting it too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
like 5 to 9 inches Friday night and Saturday. We're supposed to get 1 to 3 from right about now to today, but then just a dusting for the Friday night, Saturday morning piece. But the beach and the southern area is going to get a lot, which is what that notice from the governor is about.
All right.
Hey, Karen, if you can give me 1 second, I have an update on the state of emergency. It's not going to end on the 11th. So.
All right.
I was wondering about that. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I know I've got several emails here from the governor's office and I haven't had a chance to look at them. So, yeah, so, okay, I've got 12:51. So we're going to go ahead and come back to order and we're going to turn it over to Lauren real quick to do something on the state of emergency and then to Marcia. Go for it, Lauren.
I just received notice. Elizabeth Pataka was kind enough to let me know that Governor Youngkin just issued a new executive order for public health emergency, and that will expire on February 21st. The weather executive order is EO 12. The public health state of emergency is EO 11. And like I said, if you go to the governor's website, you can find all of those executive orders readily. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Marcia.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Obviously, there's been a lot happening, a lot of changes happening. And, you know, we have a new administration, we have a new Secretary of Health and Human Resources. As Karen mentioned earlier, a lot of different administration appointments. And now we're just in the middle of the General Assembly session. Commissioner Hayfield is honored to have been asked to continue on as commissioner under Governor Youngkin provisionally while they're finalizing appointments and reappointments. As I mentioned, General Assembly is underway. DARS is actively involved in working on a number of bills that impact people with disabilities, and we're processing those. We were talking earlier about the cyber attack on the legislative information system. The result of that was that rather than having the bills drop kind of gradually beginning in December and moving forward, that more than 1,000 dropped all at once. And of course, tomorrow is the deadline. So we're working through all of those. Earlier during VASIL's report, you heard about from Karen about the proposals both for the SILs individually as well as getting statewide coverage for the unserved areas. DARS had put in their proposal for the governor's budget, and that unfortunately did not get in, but we're pleased to see that the proposals that the SILs did put in are already showing up under the DARS section. So we'll be following those very closely and keep you all posted on any of the disability related ones that come through that might impact the important work that you all are doing. Recently, since the last Silk meeting that we had, one of the large grants that DARS did receive, DARS was awarded a $9.2 million Career Pathways Project grant. So DARS, in collaboration with multiple state agencies, received this grant by the Rehabilitation Services Administration, or RSA. And the project will serve at least 750 vocational rehabilitation eligible individuals with disabilities over 5 years. And it will build on the success of the previous Career Pathways initiative to help underserved populations acquire marketable skills and credentials in high demand fields. But it also creates 2 new DARS positions embedded within the Virginia Department of Labor and Industry and the Department of Human Resource Management. The Director of Workforce Development, David Leon, is the project director. And so stay tuned about this. We're really excited about really promoting marketable skills and credentials in high demand fields. So if those of you have folks who are interested in either position openings or promoting folks that you might be working with, really get in touch with us about this and see if there might be ways that we can promote some jobs that, perhaps we wouldn't have had the same access to before. And then finally, along the lines of what we were talking about before, with the grants, the grant that Lauren was sharing that we're in a time crunch with regarding public health professionals, just wanted to share that these funds, similar to how the CARES Act funds came down previously, where lots of different agencies received CARES Act funds and lots of different programs that DARS touched received those funds, and the impact from ACL, or even the guidance that came down from ACL, was a little different for each of them. The same thing is happening here with these funds that are coming down from the $150 million for these public health professionals. So Karen and Lauren were talking about how there were 2 different pots of money coming down, one for the Part C, the 6 Part C funded Centers for Independent Living, then the money coming down for the through the Silk and the DSE for the Part B. But I also just wanted to make you aware that there was also funding from the same money for our No Wrong Door programs, also our state assistive technology program called VATS, also for our state health insurance assistant program called VICAP, also for our area agencies on aging, and also through our traumatic brain injury grant. So each of those have slightly different ways that the money came down, different guidance from ACL. But I just, in case some of you are working with other groups, you may hear about this, wanted to make you aware that we're scrambling on different fronts to respond to these grant requests, or in some cases, these DSA letters. Just wanted you all to be aware. So thank you, and I'd be happy to answer questions from anybody.
Anybody have any questions for Marcia? All righty, Marcia, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And I was remiss in thanking DARS for submitting a funding request for the unserved areas, even though it didn't make it into the governor's budget. We really do appreciate the support that we get from DARS. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And we're very supportive of the amendment that Vasil has put in. So it absolutely relates to the Silk's spill and goals to have full network coverage. So we'll keep an eye on that.
All right,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. All right, moving on to Eric, Virginia Department for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing report.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Eric Raff, and same as what Marcia shared with you about the new governor's administration. I haven't seen the new budget yet. We're still waiting to find out who the new agency head will be for certain departments under HHR. And of course, now we're beginning the General Assembly. So many bills to review, of course, we're watching that. And some bills are impacting deaf and hard of hearing people, such as open captioning in the movie theaters, and another bill related to language acquisition for children who are born, newborn to 6. That bill we've been working on for 6 years now, and we're going to do it again this year, continue working. Of course, we're very interested to see what happens with the Office of Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion. There were some bills proposed by a secretary focusing in on the policy. There was another bill, Secretary Disability, and hoping for a policy there. So that would be interesting, looking to that. Other than that, VDDHH, you know, is a very small agency. We've had some staff turnover. 3 people have retired, 2 have resigned. So currently we have filled 2 positions, and we're recruiting for several others. So that recruiting has been ongoing. And yeah, and other programs, for example, Virginia Relay offers relay services throughout the Commonwealth for deaf and hard of hearing and speech disabled people to access telecommunication. And we have the Virginia Relay service. We've had a contract with Hamilton for many years, and we're writing an RFP. We finished with the RFP and have awarded a new contract to Hamilton again. So that's continuing on with the same service provider that we've had for 5 years. And the contract itself is going to be improved. Before, we had 2 contracts, and we were able to merge them into one contract. It'll be more efficient and lower cost. So we'll be able to save a little money and streamline operations. So we have 2 projects going on. One is support service provider, SSP, that would benefit people who are deaf and blind to live independently. And we've applied for a grant some time ago. Unfortunately, because of COVID, it was suspended. The project was suspended for the SSP programs. So we've just decided to delay it another year because of Omicron variation. So because deaf, blind, and visually impaired people work with SSPs one-on-one, it's impossible to socially distance 6 feet. It's impossible. Communication access, you know, it's tactile. You're touching the person. So we were concerned about the health precautions for people who are deaf, blind, as well as SSP. So this has put the program off. Now, more and more people are getting vaccinated and wearing masks. So we'll be revisiting that for the 2023 year. During the past year, we've worked with a pretty big group of about 18 people working on what's called Deaf Mentorship. And basically, it's for deaf adults to mentor families with deaf or hard of hearing children with language acquisition, communication, technology, providing mentoring services and guidance. That's a project that a lot of parents really want. And we're working with this group of parents since February of last year. And the goal is to establish a deaf mentorship program. Federal law requires that all 50 states, well, unfortunately, for one reason or another, there is none. So we're working on establishing that. So I guess that's about all that's happening. We continue to accept visitors, but by appointment only. We're not having any walk-in visitors in our office, so we're still maintaining health safety measures because of COVID. So.
All right.
Does
Well,
anybody
thank
have
you.
any questions? I'd be glad to respond.
Does anybody have any questions for Eric? Okay, I don't see any, so thank you very much, Eric. Sounds like there's a lot going on over at VDDHH. So, Lauren, I don't believe Judy Jackson is on today. So, Ken, would you be prepared to provide us with an update on DBVI? Ken, you're on mute.
Am I on mute now?
No, we can hear you now.
Well, that's a shame. Well, actually, I've been dealing with my own health issues for the past 5 months. However, I did talk with the Commissioner, Ray Hopkins, earlier this week. And I can tell you that there's a celebration planned in March for the 100th anniversary of the Department for the Blind and Visually Impaired. I can also let you know that Ray Hopkins is going to be retiring, and the last day will be either the 1st of April or the 1st of May. He has served for 13 and a half years. He did get an invitation from the incoming governor to stay on, but various reasons, Ray has decided to retire. His wife retired a couple of years ago, and I think that may have something to do with it. He's accomplished everything he wanted to try to accomplish at DBVI over the years. And I think he's looking to relax with his kids. So that's what I know at the moment.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that, Ken. We appreciate it. I actually did, I think, receive a request from Judy to record a congratulations to DBVI for their 100th anniversary celebration, and I'm pretty sure I did that. Anyway, it was nice of her to reach out and ask the Silk to be a part of that celebration. So, any questions for Ken? All right. If not, we're moving on to the SRC. As you know, there are 2 in the state. I am serving on the State Rehabilitation Council for the Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services. I think the biggest achievement from the DARS SRC is that they completed their annual report. And I believe that Lauren will provide everybody with the link to that report so that you can check it out and see what they've been up to the past year. Lauren, is there anything else I need to report about the SRC?
No, I'll just let you know that the annual report, the planning committee for that report really wanted it to speak to businesses as to what might be available to businesses as they look to hire people with disabilities. And so there's a lot of good information, and disseminate it as far as you can through your networks when you receive it. It's on the SRC website.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. All right. SRC DBVI.
Leland Brady has just recently been appointed. Congratulations, Leland.
Thank you, Lauren. Yes, and I just wanted to say, since I was recently appointed, I was not privy to the last meeting. So while I do have their minutes available to me, I'm not sure if that would be beneficial to read, but I'm hoping that by the time the next meeting does come, I can have a little bit more of a report to give you. So thank you for having me.
Great. And congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you so much.
All right. And the next report is from the Virginia Association of Centers for Independent Living. And Gail, you're going to do that one for us?
Sure. Thank you again for this opportunity. VASIL has been very busy, as always. So there is a Bay Area Aging has a grant on health consortiums that we have several representatives from the Virginia Association of Centers for Independent Living that are serving on various committees there, keeping individuals with disabilities an integral part of that consortium. They are looking for consumers to also be part of that. So we have been sharing that word through our networks and assisting in recruiting to ensure that individuals are represented themselves as well. There's been a lot of monitoring of the Secretary of the Commonwealth's website for openings on state boards and councils. Several representatives from CILs and individuals that receive services from centers have applied for different boards and councils. VASIL has provided extensive comments on DMAS Medicaid DD waiver provider manuals, and also various communication memos related to COVID. As we know, that's been a moving target, and so it's been very critical that VASIL remain on top of those and providing comment so that they are as easily understood as they can be with all the changes. We've collaborated with the ADA Technical Assistance Center on projects that they will be implementing in their new federal grant. And we've had multiple meetings with DMAS, Department of Medical Assistance Services, Department of Social Services, Department of Health on plans to change the CCC plus waiver and the nursing facility screening and eligibility processes. VASIL has also been instrumental in raising concerns with the Department of Medical Assistance Service about the ongoing crisis that individuals with physical disabilities are facing due to the lack of available personal care supports. VASIL remains active in a myriad of committees, groups, keeping the needs for individuals with disabilities to live independently in the community forefront in people's minds and plans. Happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Anybody have any questions for Gail? All right. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to number 14 on the agenda. Achievements and barriers for the 2022 PPR Program Performance Report, formerly known as the 704 report. So certainly COVID-19 surge continues to be a barrier. I don't know if anybody else has any ideas or thoughts about achievements and barriers. We do now have all of our positions filled on the silk, Lauren, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's an achievement. Sometimes that's a little bit harder than other times. So that's sorry. Now one of the big dogs is going off. So if you're hearing the woof, 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 he's apparently heard something outside. Who knows what? Any other achievements, barriers to report? Lauren, did you happen to think of anything?
Well, your FY21 PPR, the draft has been finished and that has been sent to your chair to review. The commissioner just signed off on it, so that's another achievement, another report done. It will be submitted by the end of the month.
And I had more of a question because a couple of friends that are in other states, they have disabilities and they're not able to get their vaccination because of transportation issues. And so the states have set up ways for either medical personnel or for fire department or 911 personnel to go to someone's home. And I was wondering if I haven't heard anything about a program that either DARS or Virginia has, and I was just wondering if anybody had information about that.
Yeah, Rob, I know that in the Roanoke area, we certainly have been working very closely with the local Virginia Health Department, and they have been using EMTs to go to individuals' homes in order to give them, their shot and their boosters and stuff. So that's what's happening in the Roanoke area. Gail, do you have any information from your area?
I was going to say, we've also been working with the Department of Health in our area, which is the Planning District 6, Harrisonburg, Rockingham, Stanton, Augusta, Waynesboro, Rockbridge, Bath, Highland, Buena Vista, to assist with meeting any of those needs that individuals might have. And I think that's true for the majority of, I actually think for all the centers that we have. But if you're aware of something, please have them reach out to one of us if they're in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Let's see. And then Vasantha has said that in Fairfax County, EMTs would go to home visits for individuals. So apparently that is happening, Rob.
Yes.
Great.
That's right. The independent sector of Northern Virginia is hiring people so they can go visit and get the vaccine.
Okay, so Wilfredo is talking about the Independent Center of Northern Virginia having some activities to make sure that people are getting their vaccine. So I think it is happening
At their home.
At their homes, right? Getting their vaccine at the homes. Very good. All right. Anything else related to achievements and barriers for the PPR? All right. Then we have other business, all issues stemming from the meeting, any remaining motions for the council to hear or consider. Don't know whether we've had anything come up, Lauren, with your review. Is there anything we need to discuss there?
No.
Okay. And then the final thing is remembering John Chappell and his contribution to Virginia. I had a conversation with John a few months ago. Cheryl Simpson from the Independent Center in Norfolk and John were interested in documenting the history of independent living in the state of Virginia. And we were talking about how we might get that to happen. And then unfortunately, John passed away. So Ed, you wanted to say some words about John? You're on mute, Ed. Ed, there you go.
As some of you might know, God really brought independent living to Virginia. I have a few comments I would like to make. Now, God Virginia became a independent city in the 1970s. After being a engineer and the Portuguese military base, he worked with leaders from three local advocacy organizations to form Virginia's first cross-disability coalition. It will call Handicaps Unlimited of Virginia. At its peak in the middle of 1980s, Harvard had around 500 individual members. And several disability organizations and affiliate members. God was instrumental in finding the state first consumer directed center for independent living. In February 1982, it was in first executive director for 4 years. I am honored and proud to say I was on the staff when ECR opened its doors. He not only founded the local independence, but also worked with other disability leaders, other stakeholder groups, and the top administration on the package of the Virginia with Disability Act in 1985. This made Virginia one of the first states having disability rights legislation. amazing beauty in that way. I forget how many mornings I would get up 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning to be in my bed and pick up participants, taking them through it once, educate legislators about the need for this law. In 1985, God left the Senate to become a Massachusetts Deputy Commissioner of Rehabilitation Services. Was not perfect, no way. However, he turned a 35-year-old dude with cerebral palsy who was going nowhere in his life into a first-rate built as an essential advocate, serving at the highest level of state government. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I still do every day. Thank you, John. Rest in peace. And congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you so much for that, Ed. That was very moving, and I know that other folks on the Silk learned a lot about John and John's contribution to Virginia. So really appreciate you doing that in tribute to him. Okay. Do we have anything else? All right. If not,
one more thing.
Ed has one more thing. Go right ahead.
I thought earlier about the legislation to eliminate 14C waiver.
You have an idea about his legacy, and then I didn't get the rest of it, Ed.
Ed, you were talking about the legislation with the 14C certificates?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't get.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you, Ed.
There is a coalition of disability advocates.
There's a coordination of disability advocates?
A coalition.
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 Working to push that legislation.
Working to push the legislation?
And we would love to have somebody from Vasil.
And we would love to have somebody from Vasil.
That coalition. So Gail, if you could talk to your folks, that would be wonderful.
So Gail, if you could talk to your folks, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I heard Ed call me out there. Yeah.
I just want to double.
I was paying attention and then I heard my name and my eyes really lit up there. And yes, be happy to do that.
Okay, I appreciate it. If I may do one more thing, I'm sorry.
Oh, and Ed has one more thing and he's sorry. No reason to be sorry, Ed. Go right ahead.
Unless he's calling out my name.
We don't need to discuss this today. But I would love to see the silk, or maybe red silk, or maybe together. Establish some kind of award.
Establish some kind of
Award.
Award, gotcha.
In memory of God's.
Okay. Well, I think that's something that Gail and I'll take back to Vasil, and something that the Silk can think about and come up with some way to recognize John. Okay.
Thanks, Ed, for those ideas.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Does anybody have anything else they want to bring up to the Silk?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to thank you, every one of you. And it's a pleasure to be here in this city.
Tony, you just wanted to thank everybody and let everyone know that it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. And thank you for counting on me.
Well,
thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Don't hang up yet. It seems to be all the things are happening now, so don't anybody go hanging up yet.
Okay, so we're very glad that you're with us, Wilfredo. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else for the Silk? Okay, I think that's all of our others. So we want to thank everybody for taking the time to participate in this meeting. We hope future meetings we can actually be in the same room with each other, which would be a really nice thing. I want everybody to be safe and stay warm. And I've just got to say, I'm kind of glad that this part of the state isn't getting more snow. So anyway, thank you very much, everybody, and we'll talk to you again soon. I don't think we need a formal motion to adjourn, do we?
No.
All right. Bye, everybody from
Thank you, everyone.
Franklin County. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.